What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Today, it is very cold out if you cannot tell. I believe it's like 11 degrees, but I've been meaning to film this video for a while, so I'm doing it now. So this is a 2-month ownership review and also kind of an introduction video because I never really made one on my 2020 BMW M4 CS. So I don't know how well you can hear me. I should probably test the mic before I do this next clip, actually. Let me do that. Alright, it's not too bad. I just gotta talk loudly, and I should probably invest in buying a lav mic so I can actually, you know, have better audio quality. But here is my 2020 M4 CS. The car is finished in Melbourne Red Metallic, which is actually an E92 color. However, they only offered it on the 2020 year of the M4 CSs, so it's very limited, which is one of the things I was looking for when I was buying an F8X car. I wanted some kind of cool color, some kind of limited either or individual color on this car. Some of this stands out, and that's what I got here. So like I said, it's very cold out today, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but I do want to just touch on a few points of what makes the M4 CS different from a base and a competition. So there's a few different things on the exterior of the M4 CS that make it different from a normal M4 or an M4 competition. Obviously from the back you can tell the tail lights. They have the GTS and the CS OLED style tail lights. You also get this nice carbon rear diffuser on the rear that kind of shows it's an M4 CS. You do get a different exhaust as well, so the exhaust tips look slightly different, and then you get this different style spoiler on the top, which I'm actually not too big of a fan of, if I'm being honest. I do want to swap it for the M Performance style spoiler, but it is a cool little touch. Going around the car, you can also see that the wheels are different. So these are not the base 437Ms, and these are also not the competition style 666Ms. These are the 763M in Orbit Gray. This is a CS wheel only. Coming around to the front end, you can see that you have this front lip. This is a CS style front lip. This is OEM. I really want to make sure not to break this lip because it is $5,000 or some crazy number like that. I think it might be $3,000, but regardless. And then you also get a different style hood. You get the CS hood, which is all carbon fiber. So underneath it looks very cool, as you can see. So now stepping into the interior, you can obviously tell you have a few differences. You have these CS style door cards, which is all carbon composite. You have a tiny little place to put your arm here. It's not the greatest armrest, but it does the job. You have a nice leather finish up here. All the CS cars got the full leather on the dash and door cards. You have this cool little pull strap to close the door with your M striping on it. You have window controls, rear sunshade control, mirror controls, and obviously your door release latch. These seats are also another difference that you get with the CS. So these are the competition style seats, so you do have the holes in here. You do have your light up M4 badge there, which is really cool. You do, with the CS, get this M striping on the headrest, as well as Alcantara on the inner bolsters on the top and the bottom, which kind of ties in with the whole Alcantara theme on the interior of this car. As you can tell, you also have the Alcantara on the dash with the dash trim that says CS there. You have your Alcantara armrest on your CS door cards, as well as the Alcantara e-brake boot and center console trim as well as the steering wheel. On our left side, we have an air vent and our headlight controls right here. Moving over here, you have your Alcantara steering wheel. This is also exclusive to the CS. They have the Alcantara with the little striping up here. Coming up to your gauge cluster on the left side, you have your fuel level. You have two big gauges that display your speedometer and your tachometer. Then you have oil temp on the bottom right. And then below in the screen section, you have some information such as temperature that you can kind of cycle through with your BC button here to display different things that you want to show up. Obviously you have your odometer and trip computer, and then you have your displayed drive modes underneath your gear indicator. On the steering wheel, you do have controls for M1, M2, those are your drive mode selectors. You also do have your cruise control settings on this left side. And then coming along to the right side, you have volume controls, voice control, the mode button for your audio source. And then obviously you have a little scroll wheel so you can scroll through the menus on your gauge cluster. You do also have these paddles on the back here. Not anything special. They don't feel amazing. I probably am going to swap these out for the magnetic paddle shifters. However, they are not bad. They do feel pretty nice, and I can't complain. Right next to that, you have your start stop button with the auto start stop turn off button right above that. Which is really nice because that actually does stay off when you turn it off, so you don't have to select that every time you get into the car, which is really nice. The center dash is very nicely laid out. You have your infotainment screen up here, which displays everything you need. You have navigation. You do have Apple CarPlay as well, Bluetooth audio, anything that you could possibly need. Very easy to use system, very straightforward, not very complicated at all to navigate, so it's very nice to use. Below that you have 2 vents with your hazard and door lock switch. Underneath that you have your radio preset buttons, which you can customize to do different things. You then have volume control and then mode buttons to cycle through audio source. And then below, this is another difference that you get with the CS models, that you have this single zone climate control. So you have a knob here on the left side for where you want the air to go. The center part has buttons for auto, fan speed, air conditioning, recirculate, and then the right knob you have your temperature adjustment as well as heated seat buttons on both sides. Coming down into the center, as I previously mentioned, you do have no armrest. So you just have this one piece of Alcantara that comes all the way up, and then you have your gear selector here. You have buttons for your drive mode selecting, traction control, parking sensors, and then you have your controller for the iDrive here. And then moving up, you have 2 cup holders, cigarette lighter, and that's really it. Back seats are nothing crazy, typical M4 back seats. Obviously, you do not have air vents back here because of that CS center console, but you do have the carbon composite door cards in the back seat of the M4 CS, which is really cool. There's that power rear sunshade that I mentioned earlier. And then your trunk space is nothing unusual. Excuse the mess. You do have a decent amount of trunk space in here. These seats do fold down with these levers right here, which is nice for carrying larger items. And then you do have this nice cargo mat underneath here, if you can even see it, which is nice for keeping things contained in your trunk. Okay, so enough talking about the M4. Let's actually get in and drive it. Now is the time where I look like an idiot and I put my GoPro mount on, as you can maybe see in the mirror there. Man, my nose is sniffly from how cold it is. But yeah, let's go out, let's go for a drive, and we could talk a little bit more about it. So like I said, the M4 CS is powered by the S55, which is the same motor that's in the M4 competition, as well as the M4 base. However, the difference there is that this has 10 more horsepower than the competition, and a lot more than the base. The base is at 425. And you could tell that it's very powerful by the way that it just likes to kick the rear end out. I mean, this thing has so much torque, and the way that the torque and the turbos kick in with the differential in the M4 is very nice, and it provides for very smooth sideways action if that's what you're into. So like I said, it is powered by the S55 3-liter twin-turbo inline-6, which is a very, very good engine, especially when it's paired to this dual-clutch transmission. I love everything about it. I think it's great. The shifts are fast, they're responsive. The steering is amazing on this car, which I'll kind of touch a little bit more on before. But like I was saying, this car is powered by the same S55 3-liter inline-6 that all the other M4 competition and base use. However, this car does have, as I said before, 10 more horsepower than the competition and almost 30 more horsepower than the base M4 and M3. So initial driving impressions when you first get into the M4 CS. So right now I just have it in drive. I'm not in any of my M modes. I just have everything in comfort, and the car is very comfortable. You know, you could definitely drive this car every day, which I do. I daily drive this car, and it's very doable. It's not impractical at all. Obviously, if you need 4 doors, maybe get an M3 CS, because that does get rid of some of the practicality. But overall, the car is very practical. It's comfortable. The ride is a little stiff, I will say that. It definitely is a little bit more rigid than the normal M4 comp and M4 base. But you know, it's still not bad. It's not unbearable where you can't deal with it. You know, I'm on stock suspension still, and while it is definitely kind of bumpy, it's nothing that is unbearable that you can't deal with on a day-to-day basis. Also, when you have it in comfort mode, the steering is very light. It's very easy to do. It's very comfortable, which I actually really like. A lot of people complain about how light the steering is in these cars, but I actually really like it because when you are driving normally, like I am a lot of the times, it's very nice to be able to just, you know, sit back and not have to put a bunch of effort into driving. Very easy, very straightforward. The transmission, when it's in normal drive mode, there are 3 different settings that you can set it to. So that's what this button right here does, is it changes the intensity of the shifts and essentially how the transmission acts. And I have it in the lowest mode right now. There's 3 settings. I have it in D1. And it's very good at, you know, being a normal automatic. While it isn't a normal automatic, it's a dual clutch. It's very good at acting like a normal automatic. It's very smooth. The shifts aren't super jerky. They're not super rough. You know, it almost feels like a normal torque converter, which coming out of the E92, which mine also was a dual clutch, that transmission was obviously because it's older, you could definitely tell that it was more rough around the edges. You know, the automatic mode in that car was not nearly as refined as it is in these F-Series cars, which I think is really good because it adds to the practicality of having this car as a daily driver. Obviously, I went over the interior beforehand, but you know, this car is a very nice place to be. It's got everything you possibly need, and I think it's kind of the perfect blend between, you know, modern tech, having modern tech in the car, as well as still having that kind of raw feel to it. Because while the G80 is a great car and while it's fast and it does everything incredibly well, this car definitely does just feel a little bit more connected and raw feeling, and you do just kind of get more of that driver focused feel out of this compared to a G80. This is a cool little X5 coming up here. The thing's nice looking. I like that color actually. Wow, I didn't know this was all snowy over here. Good thing I didn't go there to film. I am still on summer tires too, so you know, this car can get loose whenever you want it to. However, it can get even more crazy when it's cold like it is today and you're on, you know, summer tires like I am. But yeah, overall, it's very comfortable, very good to drive. You know, it's a car, at the end of the day, it's a 4 Series, right? So you're still gonna have all those creature comforts. Like I was saying, it's a very good balance between tech and having that raw driving experience. You have all the things you could possibly ask for out of your infotainment system. You have Apple CarPlay, you know, but you still have those touches that make this car feel like a true BMW. I love still having the analog gauges. I'm not a huge fan of digital gauge clusters, especially the one in the iDrive 8 systems. I'm a fan of the screen in the iDrive 8 cars, but the gauge cluster is very laggy, right? Like these digital gauge clusters, they're kind of laggy. So I like having the analog, just kind of gives that more old school feel, and you still do have a screen down here to display stuff if you need it. So if I'm trying to go through and skip tracks, right now it'll show up in my heads-up display. But if I have it in MDM mode where my heads-up display is that, I'm not sure if you can even see it, but then it'll go into the menu, and you can display stuff in here, pretty much anything that you really need to. You have your 2 selectable M1 and M2 buttons right here. I have M2 set up to where everything's in Sport Plus. Kicks my transmission into S3, which is the manual mode in the most aggressive setting. And then I have MDM on, so it'll allow for a little bit of slip with the traction control system, but it'll kick in if it catches the car getting a little bit too crazy, or if it thinks you're about to lose it. I'm gonna turn this radar off so it doesn't beep this whole time. But these M modes are totally customizable in the settings. You can go in My Vehicle, you can go Vehicle Settings. Actually, no, it's not in Vehicle Settings, it's right here. So you have your M Drive 1 and M Drive 2, which while you're in here, you can go through and adjust everything. So you can make these M1 and M2 buttons fully customizable to however you want the car to feel, and essentially make it, you know, have your own kind of experience in this car, which is really nice. My favorite mode is M1 mode because that's essentially the same thing, everything's Sport Plus, but I just have traction completely off, DSC fully off in this car, and that's when this car can get wild. Especially on these summer tires, in this sort of temperature, this car gets loose, it gets crazy, it wants to kill you, honestly. And that's what I love so much about this car, is the fact that it wants to kill you. Because it just makes it exciting. This car is so much fun to drive, It is so fast. The power band is awesome on it. So even though this car is twin turboed, they did a really good job of keeping the power band linear. It still feels very old school. You know, it almost still feels like an S54 out of an E46. You know, the power band's linear. It's got that straight six feel. It doesn't, there's not like crazy amounts of turbo lag. Obviously you can feel when the turbos kick in, but it doesn't just kick you out of nowhere, and it's not super unpredictable either. You can kind of tell when the boost is coming in and when you're gonna feel the effects of it, if you know what I mean. So one of the main things I want to talk about in this video is, what is it like daily driving this car for the past 2 months? What are my impressions? What do I like about the car? What do I not like? Things of that nature. Although, first, so you could see just how rowdy this car gets. I mean, it's insane. This thing will, especially when it's cold like this, I mean, this pavement's dry. It'll just spin those rear tires and it'll keep going for as long as you want it to. You can back out at any time, but if you want to keep going, if you want to be spinning towards 5th gear, you can do that, and the car will let you do that, and it'll keep it going. These things have so much torque, and the way this differential works with the dual clutch is so good because you can just keep those tires spinning. You could have fun with it. You could link multiple turns. You know, you'll always have power to be able to keep the slide going, which I just absolutely love about this car. But so what do I like about this car? Obviously, like I said, I like how the tech, I like having that tech. I like having that balance between tech and kind of that still old school raw feel. I like having things like the Apple CarPlay. I like having this customizable gauge cluster. I like having the heads-up display, where I can, you know, I can go through either here or in my heads-up display and go through and skip songs, do whatever I need to do. You know, I like having that tech, and that's kind of the main reason I got into one of these cars, is because I wanted something with a little bit more technology that kind of feels a little bit nicer on the interior, and that's exactly what this car is. Some of my favorite things about this interior are obviously the tech. I just love this interior layout. I always have thought that this is one of, if not the best interior layout out of any 3, 4 series, M3, M4, whatever the case is. I've always liked this style the most, in my opinion. The steering wheel is awesome. Obviously, I love the Alcantara steering wheel. I love having the full leather dashboard is awesome. Not all M3 or M4s have that. All CSs do. And that was one of the main things I was looking for when I was looking into an F80 or F82, was I wanted that full leather dashboard. I just think it makes the car feel a lot more luxury. It makes it feel a lot nicer, a lot higher class in the interior, and that's kind of the thing I was going for. And as well, I love all the Alcantara. I'm a nerd for Alcantara. My E92, I put a bunch of Alcantara in, and this thing comes with it stock, so I love that about the car. A few things I have noticed that I'm not like super crazy about, you know, things that maybe would be nice to have, but I don't have them, but aren't really deal breakers about the car. The CSs don't come with Harman Kardon. One of the things I wanted when I was getting an F8X car was having the Harman Kardon sound system. However, and I was expecting the sound system in this car to be a lot worse than it actually is, but it's really not bad. You know, it sounds decent. There's still good bass to it. It's not a bad sound system to listen to. You know, it's not bad at all. There's still plenty of bass. It still has an option for like surround sound, which is nice too, because it kind of makes it the sound feel a little bit nicer, sound a little bit nicer. So I'm not too upset that I don't have Harman Kardon. Would it have been nice to have? Yes, obviously. But I can see why they didn't do it, just because it doesn't really fit with the CS theme. And there's really no point, you know, like I said, really looking into it. Do I care that much? No, not at all. It's just one of those things that, you know, would have been nice to have, along with comfort access. So this car does not have comfort access, so you do have to take the key out to lock and unlock it, which is another thing that I thought I wouldn't really, you know, is something that I wish I would have had. However, I really don't have an issue with it. I have, you know, I keep the key in my pocket, so I can kind of just go in most of the times and just hit lock or unlock through my jeans pocket, and you know, the car locks or the car unlocks, and it's not, you know, it doesn't inconvenience me in any way, really. Obviously, you can still start the car without putting the key in. All these cars have keyless start. Just the CSs don't have keyless entry. Like I said, not a huge deal. Don't really care too much. I mean, the handling is just so good, and obviously I'm taking it a little bit easy because it's wet and 24 degrees and I'm on summer tires, but actually hooked up decent there. I was not expecting it to hook up in third gear like that, but it's so good. I mean, this car, it handles so nice. Just a great car, man. But yeah, I think that's gonna close out this video. Overall, my final impressions of this car over the past 2 months was just that I love this thing. I think it's great all around. It does everything I need to perfectly. It's fast, it handles well, it feels good. You know, it looks amazing. That's one thing I will say about these F-Series cars, is that they look so good. And I love the color. I love the interior with the Alcantara and all the M striping, like on the seat belts and stuff. I think this car is so good. It looks amazing. It does everything I need to. And, you know, like I said, I'm very excited to see where this car takes me in the future, what I end up doing with it. I got a lot of different plans for it that I want to do. So, you know, time will tell, and there'll be a lot more content coming, that's for sure. So let me know what you want to see. Let me know what you want to see with this car. Let me know, you know, what types of videos. I definitely want to do more POV stuff. Maybe a few videos with, you know, less talking, just because, to be honest, I don't really know what to talk about. So, you know, we'll see. Definitely a lot more content to come, though. But I wanted to film this video just to kind of introduce the car to the channel, as well as, you know, say my impressions about it and what I think about the car. So, feel free to leave in, if you like this video, give it a like, give me a subscribe. It was very cold filming this, so it would be much appreciated. Yeah, let me know in the comments what else you want to see when it comes to content. And yeah, other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next video.